industry peers. I mean, really, I can't even say that. Like, I grew up looking up to him. He was ahead of me in the game. I'm kind of waiting for more details to come out because it's just a very disturbing report, just accidentally this. But I don't know. You kind of caught me at a loss for words and kind of reflecting on my own memories. Malcolm was like the first former child actor that my mother even let me go out with late at night past 11 p.m. And I had a very close relationship with both him and Michelle Thomas. May they both rest in peace. So please remember him as a poet, a Grammy Award-winning musician, and an actor who did a lot more than just star on a sitcom when he was a kid.
Nobody saw this coming. When the news broke about Malcolm-Jamal Warner's passing, it didn't just feel like another headline, it felt like losing someone we actually knew. For many of us, Malcolm wasn't just an actor. He was family. He was Theo Huxtable, the funny, smart, real big brother we grew up watching on The Cosby Show. And just like that, he was gone. The shock came not just from the fact that he passed away, but how it all happened. Reports say he was found unresponsive near a private pool in Los Angeles.
Now to the tragic death of beloved actor Malcolm-Jamal Warner, who authorities say drowned while on vacation with his family in Costa Rica.
Authorities called it a drowning. But that didn't make sense to a lot of people. Malcolm wasn't someone known for reckless behavior. He seemed healthy, grounded, private. So fans started asking questions. How could this happen to someone like him? It felt sudden, quiet, and incredibly heavy. This wasn't just a celebrity passing. It wasn't one of those headlines you scroll past. It hit deep. We didn't just lose a talented actor, we lost someone who was part of our lives, our living rooms, our childhoods. People everywhere began sharing their feelings. Social media was flooded with old photos, favorite episodes, and heartfelt memories. Fans posted things like, "He was the reason I felt seen on TV," and "Theo was the first big brother I looked up to." And then came one tribute that hit differently.
Like the real world.
Well, it's a lot tougher than I thought it was. But you know what? So am I.
It wasn't from a co-star or a publicist. It came from Jaleel White, the actor we all remember as Steve Urkel from Family Matters. Jaleel is known for keeping his personal life quiet, rarely speaking on emotional matters. But this time, he broke his silence. He posted a simple black and white photo of him and Malcolm backstage in the 90s. They were young, smiling, arms around each other. It wasn't staged. It was real. But what made the post unforgettable was the caption. It read, "You were the only one who knew what it felt like to smile for cameras while breaking inside. To carry a whole show and still feel invisible. I never thanked you enough for being my shelter when I needed it. I still hear your voice telling me to hold on. This one hurts more than anyone will ever know." It wasn't just a tribute. It was a confession. A message from one brother to another.
He was like the first former child actor that my mother even let me go out with late at night past 11 p.m. And I had a very close relationship with both him and Michelle Thomas. May they both rest in peace. So please remember him as a poet, a Grammy Award-winning musician, and an actor who did a lot more than just star on a sitcom when he was a kid.
You could feel the pain behind every word. Fans instantly responded. One comment read, "This isn't a tribute, it's guilt and heartbreak." Another said, "He's grieving the things he never said." What many people don't know is that Malcolm and Jaleel were closer than the public ever saw. In the late 80s and early 90s, both were young black stars at the peak of television fame. The Cosby Show and Family Matters weren't just hit shows, they were cultural moments. And these two young men were carrying the weight of those shows and their communities on their backs. Backstage, behind the cameras, they leaned on each other. They talked about the stress, the fear of being forgotten, the weight of trying to stay perfect. When Jaleel was getting mocked for playing Urkel, it was Malcolm who reminded him he was more than a character. And when Malcolm struggled to gain respect for his music, it was Jaleel who encouraged him to keep creating. Their bond wasn't about fame. It was about survival. But time has a way of pulling people apart, even close friends.
At the height of the show, when I was a teenager, and people would ask me, well, what's it like, being successful? And even then I said, well, I can't really measure, success with this show. It won't be until I'm 40, 50, 60 years old, having worked consistently as an actor and as a director, will I be able to look back on my career and say, I've been successful. So I feel, now, like, yeah, I'm working consistently. I'm doing the kind of work I want to do. I'm a creative person. I'm a writer, I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a musician, I'm a poet. Like, I'm all of that. And I finally got to a place where I've been able to accept all of that, or rather embrace all of that, and really accept the title of being an artist.
They didn't fight. They didn't have drama. Life just moved on. Malcolm shifted toward music, poetry, and directing. Jaleel kept pushing to prove he wasn't just Urkel. They still crossed paths, exchanged texts, but over the years, the connection faded. A source once said Malcolm felt Jaleel was still chasing validation from a world that never fully accepted them. Meanwhile, Jaleel may have felt like Malcolm was shutting people out. But none of that mattered when a mutual friend passed away a while back. That loss brought them back into contact. They spoke briefly. Nothing deep. Just the usual, how's the family? And we should catch up soon. But that call never happened. In Jaleel's tribute, one line stood out, I should have called back. That one sentence said it all. Not just sadness but regret. Not the kind of regret you post for likes. The kind that sits in your chest when you know the window has closed forever. When Malcolm's funeral took place, it wasn't a big media event. It was private. Jaleel showed up quietly, not as a celebrity, but as a grieving friend. Witnesses say he kept to himself but was visibly emotional. One family member, Malcolm's sister, reportedly approached him and said, Malcolm always spoke fondly of you. He never had a bad word. That small moment gave Jaleel some peace, but also a deep sadness. Even in death, the bond between them was still there, even if life had gotten in the way. Malcolm-Jamal Warner and Jaleel White both spent their early years trapped in the shadows of their characters. Malcolm was always Theo. Jaleel will forever be remembered as Urkel. Those roles made them famous but also made it hard to grow up in front of the world. Malcolm tried everything to show his depth: spoken word, jazz, dramatic roles, but he was always seen as the Cosby kid. And when the Cosby legacy fell under controversy, Malcolm's connection to it became even heavier. Jaleel had it rough too. Urkel was beloved, but he became a caricature. Jaleel tried over and over to break free, but people always wanted, did I do that? Despite it all, their friendship stayed sacred even when it faded. And now, with Malcolm gone, Jaleel's words echo what so many of us feel: some friendships don't end with a bang. They just slowly fade until all that's left are memories and missed chances. We didn't just lose Theo. We lost a quiet leader, a role model, a friend. And Jaleel? He didn't just lose a fellow actor. He lost a brother in this crazy industry. Malcolm's story didn't end on a big stage. It ended in silence. A silence that spoke louder than applause. A silence that many didn't even notice until it was too late. He wasn't out promoting new shows or soaking in fame during his final years. Instead, he pulled away. The same man who once filled our screens with laughter slowly faded from the spotlight. He stopped showing up at events. He missed calls, birthdays, reunions. And people around him noticed but didn't always ask questions. You know how it is. You assume someone strong will always bounce back. You figure you'll reach out next week. But sometimes, silence doesn't mean peace. Sometimes, it's pain dressed in quiet. Behind the scenes, whispers began about his health. Some mentioned heart issues. Others said he wasn't himself. But Malcolm never made it public. He kept his pain close. Maybe he didn't want pity. Maybe he didn't want to be seen as weak. Maybe he was just tired. Tired of proving his worth to an industry that only seemed to care when the cameras were rolling. He carried so much. The pressure of being a symbol. The struggle of trying to be seen beyond one role. the weight of defending a show that became controversial. And when the Cosby name turned toxic, Malcolm paid a price too. He wasn't involved in the scandal, but people stopped looking at him the same way. They forgot he was his own man. They forgot he had a heart that beat far beyond a script. Friends say that's what hurt him the most. Being overlooked. Being unheard. Hollywood celebrated the character, but ignored the man. And that quiet pain, the kind that doesn't make headlines, is often the heaviest to carry. So when news broke of his drowning, it shocked everyone. Not because it happened suddenly, but because no one knew how deep his struggles really went. What happened that day, we may never fully understand. But one thing's clear: Malcolm was carrying more than he ever let on. And Jaleel White's message? That wasn't just a tribute. It was a release. A moment of truth from one friend to another. A rare time when someone in the public eye stripped away the filters and just spoke from the heart. And maybe that's what we need more of. Because this isn't just a story about a famous actor. It's a reminder to check in on your people. The strong ones. The quiet ones. The ones who make us laugh but might be crying behind closed doors. Malcolm deserved more. He deserved recognition while he was still here. He deserved support that wasn't conditional. He deserved to be seen, not just remembered. So what can we do now? We can honor him the right way. By telling the truth. By celebrating his whole life, not just the character he played. By learning from his silence. And by giving others their flowers before it's too late. Because if there's one thing this story teaches us, it's that real pain doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it just drifts away quietly until someone brave enough speaks up and says, he mattered. And Malcolm did matter. Not just as Theo. Not just as an actor. But as a person, a brother, and a light that burned quietly in a loud world. Let's remember him for that. See y'all in the next video. This is Celeb Nova, where the drama ends, and the truth begins. We can honor him the right way. By telling the truth. By celebrating his whole life, not just the character he played. By learning from his silence. And by giving others their flowers before it's too late. Because if there's one thing this story teaches us, it's that real pain doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it just drifts away quietly until someone brave enough speaks up and says, he mattered. And Malcolm did matter. Not just as Theo. Not just as an actor. But as a person, a brother, and a light that burned quietly in a loud world. Let's remember him for that. See y'all in the next video. This is Celeb Nova, where the drama ends, and the truth begins.